But before you say, what if anything catastrophic happens? Yeah, an engine or a transmission failing on a newer car with 100,000 miles is relatively rare. I'm going to look at a car, but I think it kind of has high miles. Whoa, 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 what do you mean high miles? Oh, you know, like 100,000 miles. Bro, that thing isn't even broken in yet. Wait, so you think I should actually consider buying it? Yeah, I think you should consider buying it, and here's why. Yo, today we're gonna be talking about buying and enjoying cars that have more miles because, well, they can save you money and be more fun to drive. In this video, I'm gonna show you how. And then at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you what I found to be the perfect sweet spot for mileage, which will give you the best opportunity to drive the car for free. And if you are new here, my name is Brad Danger, and this is the Ideal Cars YouTube channel, which is for next generation car enthusiasts interested in ideal cars, believe it or not. And if it sounds like you, well, hit that subscribe button so that we can get this channel one subscriber closer to buying the highest mileage McLaren 650S. I really want to buy that car so that all of us can enjoy it on this channel. Okay, so why do people tend to shy away from high mileage diamonds in the rough? Because they seem to be riskier and more things tend to go wrong with higher mileage cars. In theory. And I know that there is a slightly higher chance that something might fail, but cars are built to go 200,000 plus miles. And personally, I've had multiple great experiences with higher mileage cars that I've either driven for free or made money. My 1998 M3 with 109,000 miles on it, I made $2,000. My 1968 Mustang with 113,000 miles on it, I made $6 grand. And my 2008 M3 with 90,000 miles on it, I made $5,000. And the best thing is that with all these cars, I got to buy them and drive them and enjoy them. And making money was just a bonus. And that's exactly why I built the Ideal Car Strategies, where I teach next generation car enthusiasts the art of properly buying and enjoying both low and high mileage ideal cars with the goal of either breaking even or making money. And the main reason that high mileage examples are really enticing is because the depreciation curve tends to flatten out with higher mileage cars. And as you continue to put more miles on them and enjoy them, they don't lose nearly the same amount of value as lower mileage examples. And I'll dig into that more in just a minute. But before I do, buying a newer high mileage car is usually better than buying an older car with less miles. I mean, cars are meant to be driven, and cars with more miles tend to last longer because they can lubricate themselves regularly and burn those carbons that are bad for the engine. Plus, what I found is that more often than not, higher mileage cars are better taken care of. Since the previous owner has actively been driving it, they usually stay on top of the oil, service intervals, and overall upkeep of the vehicle. And what do they say? Out of sight, out of mind. Fluids and rubber components deteriorate over time. What I've seen is that especially for low mileage fun cars, the chance that all service intervals and oil changes are done on time is way less likely. And it's not a deal breaker, but when they're charging a premium for it being low mileage, it's a tough pill to swallow. And when we talk about resale value, once a car falls into that high mileage category, which definitely differs from every make and model, the depreciation curve really flattens out. So a car that has 90,000 miles and the same make and model has 115K will be worth about the same on the used market. And when you're able to identify what are high miles on a car, this is exactly how you can drive a car for free relatively easily. Because you could buy the car at 90K, drive it to 115K, and sell it for about the same dollar amount. But before you say, what if anything catastrophic happens? Yeah, an engine or a transmission failing on a newer car with 100,000 miles is relatively rare. And if you do your due diligence and get a pre-purchase inspection, which I teach how to properly do in the Ideal Car Strategies, you'll be setting yourself up for the best ownership experience possible. Dare I say, ideal ownership experience. Yeah! And here's the biggest risk of buying a high mileage car. It's really easy to buy high mileage cars, but on the flip side, they're sometimes harder to sell. And that's exactly why I teach you how to properly fill out the proprietary Ideal Cars Desirability Guide to understand what color and factory options will help the car stick out from the rest and bring a premium. Remember, mileage is just one of the factors that a potential buyer considers when buying a car. Other things like condition, exterior and interior color, and factory options all play a role in how much someone is actually willing to pay. And this is especially true with higher performance cars, which is my bread and butter. They're built with stronger components than their lesser brethren and can last a very long time with just normal service. So by doing your research, you'll know that an E92 M3 with no sunroof or with the highly sought after competition package can make the car substantially more valuable, even with higher miles. And a buyer will pay a premium over M3s with less miles without those options. Knowledge is king, and I love being the king, baby. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you an example example of the exact same two cars with different mileages and break down the cost per mile for you. And since we're on a BMW kick, which I usually always am, let's do it with a 2013 BMW M3. Now, the average mileage for this year M3 would be roughly 70K, which if we look at KBB, you can see that it's 29,960. Which is what you'd get at a private party. Now, in 25,000 miles at 95K, it's going to be 25,915. So if we double the mileage, which would be considered high mileage at 140K, you can see that it's now 19,849. And then if we drive that car 25,000 miles to 165K, you can see that it's 17,435 you'd get at a private party. So here's the thing, if you buy the car at 70K, drive it 25K and sell it at 90K, it depreciates roughly $4,045. And it'll cost you about 16 cents per mile to drive the beast, which isn't bad, but you pick up one at double the mileage at 140K, drive it for 25,000 miles and sell it with 165K, and you lose $2,414, or less than 10 cents per mile to drive that beast. So you could think of it as giving yourself a nickel and a penny for every single mile that you drive. Real quick, that change starts to add up, baby. And as you can see, it is clearly cheaper to buy and drive a higher mileage car. And I can't stress this enough because I know that people in the comments are gonna say, oh, higher mileage, more issues, everything else. Yeah, you have to get a pre-purchase inspection from a reputable shop. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. This is cheap insurance to know exactly what could go wrong that you can fix before you buy the car. The other thing, which is really important, is having documented service history of that car. The higher mileage, that is especially crucial in having an enjoyable ownership experience. And personally, I've had multiple ideal ownership experiences with higher mileage cars. In fact, I now sometimes seek them out so I can get the best miles out of them. My McLaren will hopefully have the highest mileage in the USA. Oh, and one thing I almost forgot. What is that sweet spot to ride the flat depreciation curve for mileage? Well, I find that between 75K and 100K is that sweet spot where you can enjoy that ideal car for 20 to 30,000 miles and then have the best chance to sell that car to the next lucky buyer for roughly what you paid for it. And why that number? Well, first, it's considered higher mileage for almost all make and models. But also, most cars will already have had their costly major service interval at 60 to 80K, let's say. Now, if that major service hasn't been done, well, it's a great negotiation tactic and an ideal opportunity to buy it, enjoy it after you service it, of course, at an independent shop and possibly make money on that deal. Now, that's what I call an ideal car. And I wanna know, what's the highest mileage car that you've owned? What was your ownership experience like? Did you get a pre-purchase inspection before you bought that car? Let us know down in the comments. Also, snag some ideal swag, guaranteed to add 5 horsepower or 6 if your car has over 200K. Okay, so if you liked this video, you're gonna love my 1-minute video that I introduce the tried and true ideal car strategies, where I teach you how to never lose money on a car again. So check that out over here. Or if you wanna see what YouTube recommends you watch next, click here. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed yet, get me 1 subscriber close to that McLaren. But either way, you can't lose, and as always, keep living that ideal lifestyle.